We use this rhyme in class to help us with rounding. You can pause the video at any time to reference it if you need more help. So we're going to be rounding to the nearest 10 and the nearest. When you're rounding to the nearest 10, you're going to find that number in your tens place first. So the rhyme says to find your number and look right next door. So in 14, I'm going to circle that 1 because it's in the tens place. And I'm going to look right next door in that ones place. Your ones place is really important because it tells you if the number in your tens place is going to change or stay the same. So the rhyme says, find your number, look right next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more. So if the number in the ones place is 5 or higher than 5, I'm going to add 1 more to the number in my tens place. Since 4 is not 5 or higher, I'm going to go to the next part of my rhyme. 4 or less, let it rest. Since that ones place value is 4, I'm going to let my tens place value rest. It's going to stay the same. The 1 doesn't change. And the last part of the rhyme says, from the arrow on, change to 0. So 14 would round to 10 when rounding to the nearest 10. Now in 378, I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to find my number and look right next door. And again, since I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I circle what's in the tens place. Find your number, look right next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more. Since 8 is 5 or higher than 5, I'm going to add 1 more to that number in the tens place. So 7 plus 1 would be 8. 4 or less, let it rest. And I can ignore that part of the rhyme because 8 is not 4 or less. From the arrow on, change to 0. And now when you have a number with more than 2 digits, when you're rounding to the nearest 10, you can pretty much ignore that hundreds place value until the very end. We don't really care about it until we go to write our final answer, and I tell my kiddos just to plug it in, plug it in. When rounding to the nearest 100, it's the same process, but instead of finding your number in the 10 spot, you're going to find it in the hundreds. So find your number, look right next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more. Since this number in the tens place is 5 or higher, I'm going to add 1 more to the number that I circled. So the 3 would change to a 4. 4 or less, let it rest. From the arrow on, change to 0. The same thing with 3,833. Find your number, look right next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more. 4 or less, let it rest. From the arrow on, change to 0. And again, we didn't really care about that thousands place value, but at the end, I'm going to plug it in, plug it in. You can pause the video and go over this question with your kiddos, but they are going to see this question eventually, and the answer is letter C, because 25 through 34 are all going to round to that number 30. And you can discuss this with your child at home. We're going to go over this in class also. And they may also see a graph where they have to draw information from it. So on this question, they're being asked to find how many tickets were sold that week. They're going to have to be able to add several numbers on their test. So just be on the lookout for that. Be practicing this at home.